Hey everyone, welcome back to the CS report. CS, of course, stands for Chat Sports. I'm Tom Downey, joined again by Al King, your fantasy aficionados on chatsports.com. We've got our second fantasy podcast. This week we've got we'll discuss a few moves that happen around that'll affect your teams or affect the way you draft. And then we'll break into one of my drafts that I did in my league back home. Al and I will give our thoughts. There are some great stories in there. I made a couple mistakes, so you can do what I don't do in the draft. Once again, follow me at whatgoingdowney, and Al, your handle is.
At AlKing906 on Twitter. I'm excited for the show. I'm excited to dive into that draft of yours. It should be
Absolutely,
fun.
that should be fun. Before we get to that, I know you and I wanted to discuss a couple of big developments that kind of happened. Well, maybe not big, but notable developments. I'll go first. Andre Brown got cut by the Texans, which surprised me and upset me. I'll get into the upset part later, and it'll be pretty obvious why it upset me. But I kind of had high hopes for him this season. I thought he'd be the main backup to Foster, and with Foster's injury problems, I thought Brown had a chance to have a big season, and now he's searching for a job.
Yeah, so now the backup is Jonathan Grimes, I believe. Is that his
Yeah,
name?
Grimes
Yeah.
is one of the guys competing for it. He'll probably get
So
it.
there is no true backup yet now, though, now that Andre Brown's cut, right?
Yeah, because you can't really draft Jonathan Grimes.
Yeah,
Hasn't
no
really
way.
done much.
Right. But at the same time, Aaron Foster's injury history usually makes for maybe you want to draft his backup. So once that is set in stone, he might be worth whoever that person is might be worth a spot.
Mhm.
All right, so I'll go into mine now, and then we'll go back to a second one from you. My first big development, I guess, if you will, like you said, not big, but it has fantasy impact
Yeah.
implication. Big word, implications. Good one. Jeremy Maclin missing practice today, not going to play in the second preseason game. Coming off the ACL injury, he claims that this is just normal for people that are coming off of ACL injury, and I've never done that, so I can't disagree. But he's just riddled full of injury history or the illness the one year, which is very unfortunate for him. Um, he's a very risky guy to draft at his current ADP. He might be in the right situation, but it doesn't matter if he can't get on the field. For me, he's not even on my draft board.
Really.
Yeah.
And it's risky for sure. You certainly don't want him as your starter by any means. Maybe a late round flyer, but certainly a very risky pick.
I want to say he's going in like rounds, I think maybe 7 or 8.
That's where I've seen him for the most part is in
Yeah, and
that
for
range.
me, there's other guys that I know that are going to play, at least 10 games, and I don't know that for Jeremy Maclin.
Mhm. All right, my second one, Marvin Jones, messing up his knee. He'll be out until about week 5, is what the Bengals have said, or what reports have said from the Bengals. A little disappointing. He's kind of one of those bubble draft guys in like a 10-team league. He was a top 25 receiver last season, kind of came on late. Now you really don't draft him at all. Maybe you look at a guy like Mohamed Sanu, who might be the starter now, who was drafted before Jones. They were drafted in the same draft class. Uh, Maybe Sanu takes a hold of that second wide receiver job, and Jones never really sees the field that much again. So tough break for Jones, and kind of makes A.J. Green the only really draftable Bengals wide receiver.
What does that do? Like I told you before the show, I kind of get high on people that a lot of people aren't, and sometimes it comes back and burns me for drafting them for no reason. I took Lester Jean a couple years ago from the Texans in my last round, thinking that, oh, this is going to be a breakout candidate, blah, blah, blah. He ends up getting hurt, whatever. But Marvin Jones going down, does that open up more playing time for Tyler Eifert?
I don't know. I'm a fairly big Bengals fan. I grew up in Cincy. The biggest issue is with Eifert is that Jermaine Gresham is essentially their tight end blocker. So Eifert's not on the field as much as he would be, and I don't know if any of Jones' potential targets are going to go toward Eifert. Plus
You don't
Dalton.
think Eifert could play in the slot, maybe?
I think he can, but I don't think the Bengals would really use him in replace of Jones. I think they'll just plug Sanu back into Jones's spot.
Okay, so calm down on Tyler Eifert if you're
Calm
me.
down. I mean, yeah, in a 10-team league, I don't think you really need to reach for Eifert, but monitor him on the free agency wire for sure. But in deeper leagues, he's certainly someone to watch out for.
But he could be my third tight end.
You don't need three tight ends.
I know.
You don't need three tight ends.
My second top news story is Brian Hoyer starting the second game for the Browns. Even though last week it was reported that Johnny Manziel is supposed to be the reported starter for the Week 2 preseason game, now all of a sudden the Browns come out and say it's going to be Brian Hoyer again. When does Johnny football start, if at all, this preseason?
Maybe game 4, aka the game that doesn't matter.
Right.
The Browns are now gonna give Manziel that never made sense because the report essentially said that they were so impressed by his performance in week 1, which A was okay at best, and B was against backups. So that whole report never really made sense to me, and I don't think Johnny's good to, he's not ready to start yet.
He's not Johnny NFL?
He's not quite Johnny NFL yet. He certainly has really good upside, especially in fantasy too, because of the
rushing.
Yeah, because of his talent there. I just don't see him as the week 1 starter.
You think he starts at all this year?
I wouldn't be surprised. I think the odds are probably more in his favor because if the Browns struggle, if Hoyer struggles, if Hoyer gets hurt, he's had plenty of injury problems in the past, then it's Manziel's show. But actually, I saw this on ESPN, and it was Jerome Bettis talking. And Bettis said the Browns were going to cut Hoyer. And I just turned off the TV. I'm like, that's stupid. Like, then his rationale was that, okay, well, he's like, well, Manziel's going to be the starter, and the Browns just aren't going to want Hoyer there at all. They don't want to have him as the backup. And I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I just turned off the channel.
Yeah, that's dumb.
I'm like, come on, guys.
There was a report that I read that said Hoyer to the Texans is a possibility. But if Hoyer's going to be the starter, they're not going to trade him.
Yeah.
Even if he's only starting 5 weeks, if that's their plan, which I don't think it is, I think they want to ride him all season, unless they struggle, like you said.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to get rid of Hoyer. You need a formidable backup, and Hoyer's proven he can be that, even if Manziel takes over.
A lot of these reports, I think, are just people guessing potential ideas that make sense as a fit. Because Hoyer the Texans makes sense as a fit because of Bill O'Brien and Hoyer's time with the Patriots, but I don't know why the Browns would trade him.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense to me.
It's all people trying to get Johnny on the field. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is. All right. Are we diving in?
All right, let's dive into my draft. Background information for everyone listening at home. 10-team league. I came in second last year, third the year before that, and first in the first year that we did the league. Every year we have a different way of deciding the draft order, and this year we had this like 10 event challenge point system, like to determine the draft order. We had like a punt, pass, and kick with like 3 of them. We had a 40-yard dash, which wasn't exactly suited to my strengths. We had like a 3-point contest, a game of knockout, and my 2 favorite, it was a soccer shit, I think I'm missing another one, was laser tag and putt-putt, or how we like decided the draft. And at the end of it, I ended up with, and then we decide like if I came in third in the challenge, so I had the third pick of where I wanted to pick. So I ended up settling on the third overall pick. It actually went 1, 2, 3, 4 were like the first 4 choices, which was kind of weird. But so I got.
Was each challenge a point? Like worth
Uh,
1 point if
like
you win?
if you came in first, you got 10 points. If you
Okay.
came in last, you got 1 point.
Okay.
So I
That's
kind of
pretty
fell.
awesome. That
Yeah,
is pretty awesome.
I kind of fell apart during the middle part of the challenge. Oh, there was a home run derby was I think the one I was forgetting. But I didn't. I did win the knockout laser tag and putt putt.
Nicely done.
So
Well
putt putt
played,
had a lot of
sir.
pressure. I played golf in high school, so I really should have won the putt putt.
There you
Would have been real bad if I didn't.
go.
But Al, you have the draft results in front of you.
I
Uh,
do.
I picked third. I got LaShawn McCoy. Adrian Peterson, Jamal Charles went off the board in front of me. That's the correct pick, right?
Without a doubt. Without a
Okay.
doubt. Um, I'm going to just say, I know we're going round by round, but I'm going to
Yeah.
say really quickly, your first three picks are like, wow.
Oh
I
my God,
cannot believe, I cannot believe you landed. I mean,
I
McCoy's my number one overall.
okay. And
So you getting him at three for me is already good value.
I was shocked at my first three picks. Things kind of went a little bit downhill after that, but we'll get to that later.
Right.
Any other picks from the first round that kind of jump out to you, good or bad?
Well, they're following the trend of Calvin Johnson before Eddie Lacy. That is hot right now.
I have a story for that on you too. Once we
Okay.
get there.
And then Doug Martin at the end of round one. Is he a Buccaneers fan?
No, he just took
Okay.
Doug Martin.
Okay.
Now
That one, that one
this
weird
is
to
a
me a bit.
snake draft. So is it better if he just swapped his first round pick or his second round pick with Demarius Thomas and took Doug Martin at the beginning of
It
round
is a
two?
snake draft. Obviously, Demarius Thomas at the end of the first round would look better, but I still think Doug Martin. I would take. I would honestly take Arian Foster, DeMarco Murray, Zach Stacy over Doug Martin, even to begin the second round.
Okay.
So just because
So
I'm scared of the RBBC there in Tampa Bay.
yeah, I agree. Well, back to Calvin.
Yes.
Uh, the uh, the kid who was picking sixth had Calvin Johnson last year. He loves Calvin Johnson. So when he went off the board at five, because he took six thinking that Calvin would be on the board for him so that he could take
hmm
him. He
hmm
got so mad. It was the funniest part of the night. He just starts like swearing at the guy sitting next to him because he just picked him. It was absolutely hysterical, and then he got flustered from there on in. And you can kind of look at his team and you can kind of see how he got flustered and didn't really know what to do after that because
Yeah.
he had his heart set on Calvin Johnson at six and he like didn't have a backup plan at all.
Wow. Yeah. No, Calvin's been going before Eddie Lacy. Is yours a standard, right? Non
Yep,
PPR.
standard non
Even
PPR league.
even more so in PPR leagues, Calvin's going before Eddie Lacy. But
Yeah.
it seems to be almost the norm right now, where it's the four running backs and then Calvin going fifth.
hmm And then any other picks that jump out? Round one.
No, I mean Jimmy Graham in the first round. Neither you or I really like a tight end in the first round. But if you want to do it, Jimmy Graham's the guy to do it with.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, picking nine, I'm fine with Graham there,
mhm,
especially since the top six halfbacks had gone off the board and had Calvin.
right.
Um,
But for me, I look at Demarius Thomas. Why wouldn't you go Demarius before Jimmy Graham? But that's mine and your take.
yeah,
If you
yeah.
want to tight end, is yours head to head as well?
Sorry, what?
Is yours a head to head league as well?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean that gives them a positional advantage every week.
Yeah.
So.
Um, all right. Moving into round two. Remember snake draft. So I'm picking I think 18th overall now, seventh pick in round two, and I get Des Bryant.
That's a
I
steal.
was really excited about that. I have him 10 on my big board right now, so I have him as a first round pick essentially. Even though I don't think he should go in round one, but there aren't enough quality first round picks in my mind. I was really excited to get him there.
That is an absolute
I
steal.
I was shocked. I was so excited because I'm a huge Cowboy fan,
Yes.
like to a fault, honestly. And I haven't had Dez in this league like ever because he always goes like early round 2 before I can ever take him. Because like
And this year he goes late round 2.
he goes late round 2. I was ecstatic about it. Got me really excited, and I'm feeling good about the draft so far. Any picks that jump out to you here?
Aside from your Des Bryant going there, I guess the fact that Aaron Rodgers was picked before Drew Brees is
Hmm.
kind of a shock.
Hmm.
Um, for me, Brees plays indoors 8 games of the year,
Yeah.
and Rodgers plays outdoors in Green Bay, Wisconsin, 8 games of the year. So I mean, I know the weather doesn't get really bad until later, closer to the playoffs, but you don't really want. I would take Drew Brees over Aaron Rodgers because come Week 16 in your
Hmm.
championship game, Aaron Rodgers might be playing on a field full of snow.
Hmm. Very
So
true.
that sticks out to me. The rest of them, no, I like Zach Stacy a lot. Where he went there, I think is good. Um, Before Le'Veon Bell might be weird for some people, but I actually have Stacy above Bell on our big board that I'm taking, week to update. But it'll get done. It's very close.
All right. Best pick, worst pick in the round.
Best pick, Des Bryant, because of where
Thank
you
you.
got him. Worst pick, I don't think there really is one. All those guys belong in the second round. Monty Ball. So that guy went Jimmy Graham, Monty Ball. Those are
Hmm.
two kind of questionable for me. But again, if you're high on them, take them.
Yeah.
So it's weird though because he's not going to play until at least week 1 with the appendectomy, and who knows what he's going to be like. Takeo Spikes on. I was watching the fantasy show the other day, and he was on it, and he said that linebackers know that he had an appendectomy, and sometimes they're going to target that area, and he could re-injure it if he comes back too soon.
All right, well, let's move into round 3. I think you'll mention a couple of questionable picks here, but I'm picking third in this round, and I get Brandon Marshall in round 3. So
Again,
I'm
ridiculous.
feeling real happy. I couldn't believe he was on the board. Um,
In the third
but
round.
in the third round, any other picks that jump out to you there?
Uh, I would take Brandon over Julio. Julio got picked 2 picks before him. Matt Stafford in the third round is a little early for both
Yeah,
of our likings, I believe.
that was the one that kind of jumped out to me most was seeing Stafford going in round 3.
Hmm.
But I was happy with it because I thought he was going to take Brandon Marshall, and he took Matt Stafford.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So Marshall fell right in your lap. To kind
mhm,
of put this in perspective of your first 3 picks of McCoy, Bryant, and Marshall, in my team league, I'm picking 8, and I'm
mhm,
hoping to get Des Bryant and Brandon Marshall in rounds
mhm,
1 and 2,
mhm.
and you got
I
them
got
in
him in 2 and 3.
2 and 3. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's incredible.
yeah. Uh, any other
But
picks that kind of jump out there?
no, Geo in the third is awesome. Um, that's really it. I'm not as high on Alshon Jeffrey as other people are, but pairing him with Demarius Thomas, so he's the wide receiver too. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
What about Reggae Bush going in round 3, late round 3?
Since it's not a PPR, that's actually really questionable because I'm so used to PPR. That's what I usually play.
Yeah.
So Reggie Bush in the third is a bit early, but I think he was looking at the run on running backs that has already happened at that point.
Yeah.
So he might have just been taken, best available according to his cheat sheet or whatever he had in front of him.
Hmm.
But pairing Arian Foster and Reggie Bush is kind of a nightmare
Risky
waiting to happen.
proposition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, let's transition into round 4 then. Again, snake draft. So I'm picking eighth in this round. I take Andre Ellington. I didn't want to take him this high, but he was the best player on my board, and there were still a bunch of good receivers left. So I figured I'd get a good one on the way back, and I did. But we'll get to that later. But I think we're both pretty high on Andre this season.
I think you might be a little higher than me,
Mhm.
but in the fourth round, if he is the main guy in Arizona and he has the playmaking ability that he does, it's well worth the spot there. Um, they said I've seen there's been so many conflicting reports of we want to get him 25 touches a game, and then there's other reports saying, well, we want to limit his inside the tackle run, so we're going to get him maybe 16 to 20 touches a game. But either way, those numbers are going to pan out good for Andre Ellington, who can take it to the house on almost any play.
I kind of had my heart set on Julius Thomas drifting back to me in round 4, but he went off one pick before me. But any other picks that jump out, good, bad, and indifferent?
Well, you know me and Keenan Allen,
Yeah.
uh, we don't really get along. I don't know
Uh,
why.
I actually take full credit for that because the kid that took him kind of reads all of our stuff, and he and I had a long discussion on Keenan Allen, and
Uh,
when he made that pick, I shouted that I was so proud of him for doing it.
that's
So
awesome. Uh, I mean, in the fourth round, I don't see any problem with it. I just I liked him coming out of Cal a lot.
mhm.
I just see him really having a sophomore slump. I don't know why I have him pegged for a sophomore slump more than other guys, but I really worry that either Phillip Rivers won't have the same year, which won't allow Keenan Allen to have the same type of year, or maybe Ladarius Green and Antonio Gates surprise people and take a lot away from Keenan Allen. We'll see. I don't know.
A couple names I'll throw at you that went in round 4. I want to get your thoughts. Wes Welker at the tail end, Ben Tate right in the middle, and C.J. Spiller at the very start.
We'll start with Spiller. He's a very interesting pick this year because he's healthier this year than he was last year. And even with the bum ankle, he averaged 4.6 yards per carry. But it's the amount of carries that's really worrisome with
Mhm.
Fred Jackson and now Bryce Brown there. Um, but he's another guy, kind of like Ellington, who can take it to the house every single play. And if he is truly healthier now than he has been over the past 2 seasons, I could see him actually running away with the job.
Yeah,
I don't know though. We'll have to see. Buffalo's a weird team to gauge.
that was our.
Ben Tate in the middle. He's not. Who's the starter there? I mean, Ben
I
Tate is right now.
Yeah, again the classic running back by committee problem.
Yeah, without a doubt. So fourth round might be a little expensive there. When Ryan Matthews was the very next pick, he's going to be, the starter. Sure, Donald Brown is there now, and Danny Woodhead, but Danny Woodhead's a pass catcher, and Donald Brown is really just going to spell Ryan Matthews on, I don't know, 6 carries a game maybe.
Hmm.
And he could have even had Andre Ellington. I would have taken both those guys over Ben Tate, without a doubt. And who was the other one? Wes Welker?
Yeah, Wes Welker.
Uh, I mean, he could have 100 receptions, you know, or he could have 70 and miss,
Yeah,
5 games.
missed 5
But
games.
70 receptions is still formidable in that offense with Peyton Manning,
Mhm.
but it's not a PPR, so I don't know. Well, how do you feel about that pick?
I thought it was a little bit early. I thought there were better receivers on the board. Uh, Guys that went after Welker, for example, Fitzgerald, Roddy White,
Mhm.
Pierre, Victor
Yeah,
Cruz.
I see them right
Um,
there.
but I mean, I think on the flip side, you pretty much know what you're going to get with Welker, barring an injury, which you really can't predict much. So
Right.
kind of a safe pick, I guess,
Yeah, I think so
or at
too.
least maybe conservative pick.
Hmm.
But we'll transition back into round 5, uh, and I complete what I consider to be my loaded wide receiver core when I get Larry Fitzgerald in round 5 to be my flex.
That's
Uh,
insane. You have Des Bryant, Brandon Marshall, and Larry Fitzgerald.
as far as I'm concerned, I have 3 wide receiver number ones.
Yeah, I mean Fitz should bounce back this year.
And
easily.
he was solid last year too. A little bit
Yeah,
down at times, but
right. Um, I can't believe though that trio of wide receivers that you got.
yeah, I'm
What
really
is
excited about it.
what's Fitz ADP right now? Where's he usually going? Like,
Um, I want to say like in round 4. I
right.
can pull that up. Um, it's like it's late fourth, early fifth in a 10 team, which is pretty much where I got him.
Okay, so that's where he's slotted
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
That's still
So
very impressive, those wide receivers.
any other picks that stick out? I think I know one that you're gonna mention.
Well, Rob Gronkowski, is
Yeah,
that the one?
that's one of them.
Okay. I don't see. I mean, it's hopeful that he plays week 1. Let me see. Did he take another tight end even?
Did you? Well, look who he picked before Gronk.
Oh, wow. Okay, Julius Thomas.
Yeah, so he is going with the
So he's gonna
rare
go. Okay.
play the
Yeah.
tight end and flex, and I
Yeah.
actually really like the move.
Yeah. No. Without if Gronk comes back and is healthy, I think what he's gonna be is. Do you remember? I want to say it might have even been last season when he first came back. Before he hurt his leg. For like
Hmm.
the first 2 weeks, he was used more as a decoy.
Yeah,
I
I
think they're
mean
going to do that again this year for the first probably 2 weeks
he'll
before he
he'll
really
start
ramps it up.
he'll start slow and then he'll pick it back up, and he could
Right,
very well finish end of the season second best tight end, third best
right.
tight end.
And if he could have that, Julius Thomas and Rob Gronkowski, I mean that's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty solid little strategy there.
I'm gonna mention this teaser now. This I when he took two tight ends, I thought, crap, that means there's gonna be one less for me to get later on because I knew I was probably gonna wait.
Mhm.
And that's kind of when I realized that things could end up turning south a little bit on me. But we'll just leave that as a teaser. Any other picks that jump out to you?
Cam Newton in the fifth is crazy early. Um, I think I've seen him probably go. I've seen him in like the eighth round in some mocks
Mm-hmm.
that I've been doing, eighth, ninth round.
Mm-hmm.
Um, his bum ankle's scary. He himself is saying he's not 100%,
He has no weapons whatsoever.
and he has no weapons. Yeah. So, although Kelvin Benjamin made a highlight catch, which means he's going to be the best rookie receiver that the game's ever seen.
Yeah, of course, because he knows how to run routes and stuff now, but he
uh,
doesn't. He's so raw.
he
We'll
really is.
see. We'll see.
I love Andrew Luck in the fifth.
I was mad about that pick because
Yeah.
I kind of had my heart set on him sliding back in round 6 because that's where
Yeah.
I would pull the trigger on him.
hmm That's what I'm
Um,
hoping for as well. In mine
but
is for him in the sixth.
he didn't slide back to me. Every now and then, I'll cuss out one of the guys that made a pick, and I think that was the first time I'd done it all draft because it had gone pretty much the way I'd wanted it to go.
Okay, actually, I think I see the one that you think I was gonna point out
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah,
I finally went back to the beginning of the round.
yeah,
Fred Jackson at the
yeah.
5-1?
Yep,
What?
5-1.
Are you kidding?
Here's why I think this happened. The kid that picked him spent his first round pick on C.J. Spiller last season,
Oh
and
man.
I think this is at one point he referred to Spiller as his ex. So I think this is some cruel revenge plot on C.J. Spiller.
In the fifth round, though, you can't.
Yeah.
Personal feelings. You got to keep them aside when you can. You got to
Yep.
play with your head, not with your heart.
Um,
Wow. So
that's
Fred Jackson's his new ex then. Gonna
that's
be
5 rounds earlier than Fred
Whew.
Jackson's ADP currently.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's tough. All right. I'll let you go into
Moving
round six.
moving on to round 6. Again, I'm at the back end of this round, so it's 6.8. I went ahead and took Shane Vereen uh, to be my backup halfback. I had my eyes on on Torrey Smith, and he went off a pick before me. And then I had my eyes on another receiver who I figured would be there on the way back, and he was, so we'll get to him later. But thoughts on Shane Vereen?
You said he's your backup halfback.
Backup halfback, yeah.
He could also be your
Weekly
backup
flex.
flex. Yeah.
Yeah,
When you hear Shane Vereen, the first word that comes to mind usually for fantasy players
just
is,
flex.
"Oh, that's a flex guy."
Yeah, because
Yeah,
he's a classic
he's
flex
got
player.
he's got flex appeal.
Yeah, that's exactly what he is. Every year I'm like, he's the perfect flex player because he like
Right.
does a little bit of both.
Right.
I was so high on him last year. I had him in all my leagues, and Ridley fumbled twice like in the first game or something, and like Vereen was going to be the starter all season. I was so excited, and then he had like 15 points week 1, and then
Right.
got hurt, and I was so mad
Didn't
because
he get hurt during the game and
yeah,
finish the game? And then the
yeah,
report came out after. Yeah.
that he really should not have been playing.
Yeah, that's crushing when it's like, "Oh, well, he finished the game, he'll be fine." And then 20 minutes later, you see the report and it's like, gonna be out till week 11. It's like, what?
I think I held on to him the entire season because I did
Yeah,
not want to, drop him. And he actually ended up having an okay season,
he
you
did.
know,
He
game
did.
by game.
Right.
But in this middle part, you'll notice in my picks, uh, I've never been one, especially as of late, to really focus on filling starters per se.
Mm.
I just go for the best value. So after this, I have 3 straight depth picks before I even go after, quarterback, tight end, defense, all that stuff.
Right. Which
Um,
that's what I like to do as well. I think
mhm.
finding the value as opposed to filling out your starting lineup is probably smarter at this point because injuries happen, and you
Yeah,
want depth.
and
So
bad years happen,
yeah,
and you
of
just
course.
can't predict those. So
Right.
my starting lineup probably, or our starting lineups probably aren't going to be the best compared to some others. But come week 8, when someone breaks their leg, tears their ACL, or is just having a bad year,
Right.
I'll be okay because I have depth.
hmm
So
Other picks that stuck out to me. Lamar Miller in this is round 6, right?
yeah,
That's a
they're
little early.
around
I think that
6.
might be a reach. Um, I mean, he might be worth it if he keeps No Sean Moreno off the field, which I kind of
Mhm.
think he will. I think if you look at
Yeah.
our rankings, um, I have Lamar Miller slotted like 20 something spots higher than you. It kind of shocked
Mhm.
me. Um, and then I think you have No Sean about 20 higher than I do.
Yeah, Miami, I don't really know what's going on over there,
Right.
to be
Um,
totally honest.
but Lamar Miller in the 6 is a little early, but I mean, he could play up to that potential. A guy that I was really taking chances on early doing mock drafts was Trent Richardson,
Hmm.
and I see he got picked here in the 6th round. I think he's going like late 5,
Yeah.
early 6 usual. So this is late 6. Um, it's only one preseason game, but man, after watching him in that first preseason game, he looked to be just as terrible as he was last season, and
He still he
it really
still
turned
looks
me
like
off.
a plotter.
Yeah, he's
It's a
just
really bad term for a halfback.
it is. That's a very
At this
offensive.
point, it's a borderline slur.
Yeah, serious. It could be very, very offensive. Um, but he just so many times ran into the back of his offensive
Mhm.
lineman. First contact, he's fallen over, and he's a big guy. He shouldn't be having these problems.
Mhm.
So I really think he might be done. I don't know. He looks really bad.
Mhm.
Do you feel that strongly about him?
I don't know that strongly. I mean, I think he's going to be the main Colts halfback since Vic Ballard's hurt and Ahmad Bradshaw has one good ankle and is old. So I think this is like, all right, Trent, this is your season. If you can't do it, and we really screwed up when we traded away that first round pick for you.
Seriously, seriously. All right.
I mean, when you think about it, given that the Browns traded up with that pick they got from the Colts to take Johnny Football.
Mm-hmm.
So they really traded Trent Richardson for Johnny Football.
Right, which could really, really
Well,
be one of the worst trades ever.
yeah. All right, any other picks that jump out before we transition into round 7?
I'm just gonna give love to my guy, Michael Crabtree in the 6th round.
Yep.
Absolute steal. Love it. There, that's it. I said my
All right.
piece.
You love Crabtree.
I really do. I mean, I'm a Niner
We all
fan. I
know that.
usually don't draft my Niners. I usually don't because I don't want to do that because I
Because
always
you're
feel like my
scared.
fantasy football team is jinxed.
No, no,
I'm
no. It's
doing
because you're
jinxed.
scared.
What?
It's because if they lose, if like the Niners have a bad game, well then you probably lost your fantasy matchup too. So you're like double sad
Twice
and
as mad.
upset.
Yeah,
Yeah.
twice as mad. Yeah, I don't know if I could handle that. But this is the year I'm drafting Crabtree. I can say that.
All right. Round 7 now. Uh, Kind of had a little run on receivers when it went Sammy Watkins, Michael Floyd, Cordarrelle Patterson. I got Patterson, and I was really excited about that pick because I think Patterson's going to have a big year, especially if Bridgewater is a quarterback, which I think he will be. And right now he's my number 4 receiver, which I don't think I did a mock draft where he was any lower than my 3rd. So I was happy to get him there.
Cordero Patterson is very interesting to me, but he's probably due for a breakout year, like you're thinking.
Hmm.
They're trying to find ways to get him the ball. If he gets as many targets as they're projecting, he's gonna be because he's a freak athlete. He's gonna be huge
Yeah,
this year.
yeah,
So as your number 4 receiver, I mean, you might have trouble finding playing space for him. If you start Fitz in the flex every week,
hmm
Dez and Marshall, maybe you could write to. Do you play ESPN or Yahoo or what?
ESPN. I can always try and trade Patterson for a different spot if
You could,
someone gets hurt or if
or you could
Fitz.
write to ESPN and be like, "Hey, Fitz lines up in the slot a lot. Can I get some tight end eligibility on him
Yeah,
or what?"
that'd be awesome. Tight ends
uh,
suck this year.
we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Any picks that kind of jump out to you?
Let me ask you this really quick:
Okay.
if Michael Floyd was there and so was Cordell Patterson, would you have taken Cordell Patterson over Michael Floyd?
That was I was kind of thinking that one of the two would be there. I don't know. I think they're like right next to each other in my rankings,
Hmm.
but I think I would have stuck with Patterson over Floyd.
Yeah, I mean they both have a lot of potential, but the amount of hype coming out of camp for both of them is
Yeah,
crazy. But I think
yeah,
it's a little bit more for Patterson at this point.
yeah.
Other picks. No, I mean I don't disagree with any of them. Steven Jackson in round 7, he's nursing a hamstring right now, uh, not playing. And I see that he didn't take Devontae Freeman, which is a mistake in my opinion. If you got Steven
Mhm.
Jackson, you had to take him, and he actually had the opportunity to, I believe,
Yeah, yeah, he
um,
did.
but he passed
Uh,
on him. So
Golden Tate in round 7. Thoughts?
I love it actually. I think Golden
Really
Tate. I think Golden Tate is gonna have. That's probably where I'm gonna target him in my draft, round 7, round 8. Um,
interesting.
I think the fact that he's lining up opposite of Calvin Johnson and he has Matthew Stafford throwing to him in a pass heavy, first time ever Golden Tate's in a pass heavy offense,
Hmm.
we'll finally really get to see if he is who he was supposed to be coming out of Notre Dame. He had good years in Seattle, but those guys throw the ball 12 times a game. So,
Hmm.
I mean, how many targets did he actually have? I think this year I think he has wide receiver 2 potential.
All right. Well, let's.
You not as high on that?
I'm not as high on Golden Tate.
Mm.
I think he's more of a round 9 pick. Uh, but again, I mean, he's going to be your number 3 receiver in a draft or number 4, and I'm fine with that. So it's certainly not a bad pick. But let's move on to round 8 here. This is kind of where the wheels kind of started to fall off for me. I'm picking at the end. Couple of guys that go off before me that I kind of had my heart set on, and I'm sure you'll mention one of them was Kyle Rudolph went off early in round 8, then Witten the very next pick, who I probably would have taken in round 8, and then T.Y. Hilton went off the pick before me, and I wanted him. So I eventually settled on I can never pronounce his name, so I just call him the Joker Bell, the Lions halfback, who I think is better than Bush. He's had more catches and more carries the past 2 seasons because Bush is always hurt. And I think he's a little bit better fit for the offense. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bell ends up turning into the Lions' go-to back towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I think he'll probably lead the backfield in carries. It might not be by much over Reggie Bush, but Reggie Bush is going to have the receptions, obviously, so he's a better PPR pick, which this is not PPR. And the fact that you got Joique Bell in round 7 after the guy took Reggie Bush in round 3.
Round 8, I got Bell.
Round 8, sorry. Yeah, that's even crazier. So he took Reggie Bush in the 3rd round, and you grabbed Joique Bell, who you said you think is the better of the 2 backs. Yeah. I mean, I think for who they are, skill set wise, I think they're both really good at what they do.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd say one's necessarily better than the other because they're 2 different style backs, I guess. But Joique Bell has 1 carry for 11 yards in the preseason, so if he stays on that pace, he's going to break some serious records at 11.0 yards per carry.
Leave the last 2 picks of the round for now.
Okay.
Because I want to mention those. Any of those picks that kind of jump off, I'm sure you think it's too early for
Kyle Rudolph.
Kyle, yeah.
I mean, round 8 is where I guess you could take him if you want, but I would have taken Witten before Rudolph. I also would have taken, Jordan Cameron before Rudolph, who went in the 9th round. I think I draw the line at Dennis Pitta before Kyle Rudolph. I think I'd take Jordan Reed and Pitta before Rudolph. I want to say Kyle Rudolph is my 9th ranked tight end. So he's still a starter in my mind. He still has the ability to be, a starter with North Turner there, and the fact that you have been telling me about him, I'm like, well, he obviously has a feeling, so I maybe should listen to him. So I'm kind of growing on Kyle Rudolph, but I just think athletically he's limited in what he can do.
Well, I knew I would never get him in this draft because, again, I don't know if you know this, but he went to Elder High School, which is in Cincinnati, and he grew up like I think it was like the kid's mom's like babysat him for a little bit. I was never gonna get him, so I'm not surprised he went off so early. Honestly, I'm surprised he didn't go sooner because he's always been drafted like way too early in this league.
It makes sense though. It's sentimental.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens, Yeah. If you're drafting in Dallas players are going to go sooner than they should because it's the hometown team.
Of course.
But then, and this is just where things just fall apart for me. End of round 8. Colin Kaepernick, who I had planned to take on the way back in round 9, went off the board. Here is why I didn't take a quarterback. Was because the guy who took Kaepernick took Matt Stafford in round 3.
God, I hate that.
And I went, oh no.
I hate that.
I just was like mumbling to myself, I'm like, no, you didn't just take another quarterback before I even took one. Because, I mean, now his rationale for doing it was actually pretty funny. He's like, hey, I'm going to have 2 quarterbacks, so mid-season you're going to come to me when you want one. So it wasn't like he was just taking a quarterback as, I need a backup quarterback.
Right.
And then Russell Wilson went the very next pick.
And that guy had Drew Brees.
To a guy who took Drew Brees in round 2. So there go 2 quarterbacks before I even take one, and I'm like, oh, God, what just happened? And I'm freaking out. And then Jordan Cameron goes to the guy that took Kaepernick, who I was considering taking. So I didn't have a tight end.
Or quarterback.
or quarterback, and I'm looking at my board and I'm like, all right, there is no one worth picking here in round 9 right now that I probably can't get on the way back, or it's just a blatant reach, and I don't like reaches at all.
Mm.
So I settled on Bishop Sankey to be my 4th tailback. Wasn't super sold on that. I didn't want Chris Johnson. I had Sankey ranked way higher than this. Hopefully he actually wins the starting job in Tennessee. If he doesn't, I just wasted a pick.
They're making him earn it there. They really
Yeah,
are. But, I
yeah,
mean, it's Sean Green in front of him.
yeah, exactly.
And
Like,
then
come on,
Dexter
come on.
McCluster, he's good, but he's a specialty back. He's not, he's
Yeah.
not a full-time starter. I think Sankey ends up winning the job. They're he's a
Just making him
rookie and
work
they're
for
making
it.
him earn it. Yeah, they're making him work for it. So if he does end up winning the job, getting him in the ninth
Hmm.
round there is really good because he's going to be the man. And if they treat him like they did Chris Johnson at all, he's going to get plenty of carries.
Yeah. I mean, plus his ADP is in the 5th round, and I
Right,
got him in round 9, which is
right.
really good value.
No, it is. So
Um,
far, honestly, your team, from what we've looked at so far, I'm pretty impressed with.
so far.
Yeah, you got a
Um,
couple guys with big potential in Sankey and
yeah,
Patterson. You
yeah,
got Joik Bell, who is probably going to be the lead back there, and then you have that
yeah.
ridiculous trio of wide receivers.
Receivers.
So
Yeah, they're gonna, which is weird because normally my receivers suck because
yeah,
I always get halfbacks early, but I couldn't turn down the Des Bryant Brandon Marshall combo. There's just
no,
no
no
way I
way,
was doing that.
no way.
Any other picks that jump out to you?
Um, would you have taken Russell Wilson if he
No,
had been there? No, okay, I didn't think so.
no, I was not going to take Wilson there.
Okay. Brandon Cooks in round 9. That's probably a guy who is high on Brandon Cooks, as I am.
Hmm.
Taking him a round or two earlier than he's usually picked, but that's what you got to do if you like guys.
Hmm.
Um, and I think he will be worth a 9th round pick by the time the season's over. I think he's the offensive rookie of the year. I don't like Nick Foles in the 9th round at all.
And did you see who he had already picked at quarterback?
Wow.
He already has
Peyton
Peyton.
Manning. Wow.
That was another one where I just kind of put my hands in my head and I'm like, I'm never gonna get a QB at this point because
Right.
there goes Nick Foles, who I'm not super high on, but
Hmm.
every time a guy takes a second quarterback before I get one, it just cuts down my value.
Right. And Tom
I'm just
Brady
like,
went the very
no.
next pick.
And well, that one I was mad about because he hadn't taken a quarterback yet. He was doing the same thing, and
Right,
he
right,
made
right.
a good pick as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no,
But
I
I was just
agree.
like, no. No, and I still have a tight end, and I'm like, oh god.
Yeah,
So
no tight end, no quarterback
at this
still.
point, I'm like freaking out. So we move into round 10, and I'm like, all right, I'll probably get a tight end in this round. First 3 picks go off the board. Guy who has Jason Witten takes Zach Ertz, and I go, uh-oh. Here goes another guy with 2 tight ends. That's not good. Next pick is Dennis Pitta. Didn't have a tight end. I'm fine with that. I'm like, all right. I'll get Jordan Reed, and I'll be really happy. And then Reed goes off the board, and I go, well, there go all of the tight ends in the draft. There go like my top 11 guys, and I don't have
Wow.
a tight end yet, and I'm like, crap, this is bad. So I have no idea what to do on tight end. I just take, at this point, I'm like, well, crap, I better get a quarterback too. So I settle on Matt Ryan, which I'm kind of banking on him having a bounce back here. I'm like, all right, maybe a round later I'll get a QB and I'll be okay and I'll accept 2 solid starters. But I kind of just said, all right, I have to take a QB here, and Matt Ryan around 10 is good value as far as I'm concerned.
He definitely is. Matt Ryan around 10 is he's been going really late in drafts.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure why either.
Yeah, I mean his year last year wasn't horrible
He didn't have anyone.
considering. Yeah, considering. So now that the weapons are back and the offensive line supposedly is improved, he is in line for a bounce back year. And if you get a 10th round guy who is a we'll say top 5 quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
with potential for top 3, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
in the 10th round, that's a steal. You've gotten some good value picks, and Matt Ryan's another one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Zach
Yeah.
Ertz before Dennis Pitta and Jordan Reed
Uh-huh. I
is
think
a
it was a
little
little
weird.
surprising.
Yeah,
Uh, I wouldn't call it a terrible pick because I think Ertz could have a huge year, but.
right. And he already has Witten, the guy. So
Mhm. All right, any other picks to jump out? I know I like DeAndre Hopkins in round 10. I think that's a really good pick
yeah, that's
there.
a good move. That's a good move. Dwayne Bowe round 10 could
Might
pan
as
out.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
could
mean,
pan out.
he's either
He's
going to be inconsistent Dwayne Bowe or maybe he finally puts it together. And in round
right.
10, why not?
Yeah, I mean it's hard with Alex Smith at quarterback. That guy just doesn't want to throw it past 6 yards. But
Yeah.
um, maybe he will this year. We'll see. He's trying to maybe playing for a contract. He's got to show a little bit more.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Drifting back into round 11 now. I just kind of announced this pick as this is terrible value, but I need a tight end, and I just took Martellus Bennett in round 12, which I'm really angry about. I'm still mad about it because I didn't want Martellus Bennett as my tight end, but I had to pick a tight end at some point, and I was not going to even take the risk of someone taking a second tight end again and leaving me with like Antonio Gates as my starter.
Yeah,
So
the
I
next
just said,
guy.
all right,
Go ahead.
gi- give me Bennett, and I just did it. I'm not happy about it, but I had to do it.
Yeah, the next tight end off the board was Charles Clay in the next round, and
Mm.
then Tyler Eifert. So I mean, it was
Bengals
Martellus
again.
Bennett. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Martellus Bennett or bust. It seems like,
Yeah.
right?
So I just pulled the trigger. Maybe he catches a few touchdown passes. Maybe I deal some depth for a tight end. I don't know. I'll figure it out at some point.
I'm missing Ladarius Green in here. Where did he go?
He did not get drafted. We will get to that later, though.
Okay,
I promise. We will get
okay.
to that later.
um, so Bennett there. I mean, with Jeffrey and Marshall demanding all the attention, Bennett's gonna have plenty of room over the middle to work
Hmm.
with. So, what's his nickname? The Black Unicorn or something?
I don't know. It's something. Have you ever seen like his YouTube
I
videos? They
have.
are hysterical.
Are they? I have to
They
check them
are.
out.
They're rather not safe for work, but they're pretty funny. He also apparently learned how to catch because I remember with Dallas, again, Dallas doesn't like using their second tight end ever,
hmm
which is why I threw stuff when they took Gavin Escobar in the second round. But that's beside the point.
Mountain West Conference. Anyways.
Yep. Any other picks that jump out to you? I know I'm a big fan of Philip Rivers in round 11.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
actually surprised you didn't take Rivers over Ryan. I can't remember on your rankings who you have
I
higher.
I have Ryan higher than Rivers on my draft board
Okay.
uh, by one.
Okay.
Um,
So that's why
but
you took him
yeah,
before.
after I took Bennett, I'm like, all right, there are a couple good quarterbacks on the board. I'm sure I'll be able to get one of them on the way back.
hmm
And then last two picks in the round, Romo goes off the board to the kid that took Brady. Cutler goes off the board to the kid that took Luck. And I was fairly mad, especially about the Romo pick.
Wow.
We mentioned I'm a big Cowboy fan, and I've always had him in this league because no one ever takes him.
Right. And you
Because
made sure you do.
well, I don't even I just wait, and he
Yeah.
falls to me. Like last year, I got him like in round 11 or something.
Are they Cowboy haters?
Yeah, it's funny because most of the times, like the ones that aren't generally get a quarterback early, and they're smart enough to not double dip at a position where they don't need to.
hmm
Um, but this was one of the kids that waited, had Brady, which you really should get a backup if you're going with Tom Brady. Going with
hmm
Peyton Manning, you shouldn't take a backup quarterback.
No.
And he took Romo, and I was really upset about it.
But it's
And
also a good pick.
yeah, and it was a great pick, which is why I'm mad about it. And then he tried to trade rate me after the draft. He offered
Really?
me like Romo, and he's like I'll give you Matt Ryan for Romo. And I'm like, no, I took Ryan before Romo by almost a full round. Why
Right.
would I do that? And then he offered me like ridiculous stuff. I'm just like, all right, no, we're not talking anymore.
Ever
So
again.
so I don't know. Maybe
Uh,
Tony starts off really bad and like his back isn't good, and I make a low end trade for him.
Yeah, be like, hey, you still want to get rid of Tony?
Yeah. Any other picks that?
Cutler at the end of the round right there. That
Yeah.
guy has some serious upside this year, more so than usual. It's just his health that is a concern.
Hmm.
But with those two wide receivers that we talked about earlier,
Hmm.
he could have a huge season.
Had our first defense of the draft too. Round
I
11, the
see that.
Seahawks went right in the heart of round 11. And if you look at his team, it's a bad pick because he has
I hate it,
zero
hate it.
depth. He has zero depth at receiver.
So he's starting. He did the fill out the starting. Wow, he has Nelson, Edelman, Macklin, Bolden. You know what's funny? We haven't even talked about this team yet, and we're in the 11th round.
Yeah. Is that good or bad?
That's bad. I think that's bad because we're pointing out good picks more so than bad
Yeah.
picks. So
Yeah, yeah.
sorry for Evan.
All right. Any other picks that jump out to you before we snake back around for round 12?
No, just the fact that we both disagree on taking defenses, right? This
Yep.
early.
Well, here come three more because three
Yeah,
of
I
them go
saw
off
that.
the board. Carolina, San Fran, Denver.
So Carolina was the second defense taken.
Yeah.
It's hard to say that defense is going to be the same. Any defense is going to
They
be the same
lost
from the
a
year before, but they lost
pretty
so many.
solid amount
Yeah.
of stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hardy's probably going to be suspended.
mhm. For
Um,
2 games, no more, because that's apparently the rule in the NFL.
right. That's the domestic violence. That's
I
unbelievable.
do I, do- I do have a joke for you.
Okay.
You saw that Orlando Scandrick got suspended 4 games, right?
Yes.
For taking
For for MDMA. Yeah. For
yeah
Molly.
for Molly. So if you
Yeah.
do Molly, you get 4 games. If you punch Molly, you get 2. So that makes sense. Um,
Nicely done. Well said.
that's because that stuff just makes sense to
Yeah,
everyone
it does.
involved, even though
Right.
it doesn't at all. And for those of you that
No.
don't understand, that's heavy sarcasm right there.
Yeah, yeah. For the if you're new to the
Heavy
program,
sarcasm.
if you're
Heavy
new to the program.
sarcasm. Um, but my pick, end of round 12, I took Big Ben. I mean, I don't think he's much of a starter. Maybe he has a nice kind of bounce backish year after a couple, outside top 10 fantasy QB performances. He was a lot better when the team moved to the no huddle. My theory is because Big Ben was calling the plays, not Todd Haley, because I think Todd Haley's an idiot. But that's also he's insane.
Yes, he is. He
He
really is.
he thought the Chiefs were bugging his phone. So
What a weirdo.
there are some great gifs of him online.
Oh yeah.
There
Oh
are
yeah.
just him just doing stupid stuff, yelling at
Yeah.
Brody Croyle. Oh, they're just great.
Mhm.
But I don't like Todd Haley. Um,
Um.
but
Yeah. He's weird. He's crazy.
I just settled on Ben because I knew I needed another quarterback to back up Matt Ryan. So maybe one of them turns into a decent quarterback,
I
but we'll
think
see.
Matt Ryan's gonna be your starter all year.
Yeah, I
Um.
agree.
I know you said you don't look at bye weeks. I usually don't either when I'm drafting. But if I
I
do decide to take a backup quarterback, I tend to look to see
I
who.
I didn't even look. I have no idea if Matt Ryan and Big Ben have the exact same bye week. They very well might, and at this point, I just don't care. Honestly, I'm
Well,
I'm kind of afraid to look right now, but I'm
right.
gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and do it.
You're gonna look right now.
I'm gonna look it up.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys can hear the typing or not, but
Yeah, a little bit. It's all good.
all right.
I think if Roethlisberger has a friendly matchup for Matt Ryan's bye week, then you're golden.
We are in the clear. They do not match up this year, so
Heyo.
reward there paid off. Um, I I honestly don't remember the last time I looked at a bye week
When you're
for
drafting.
I just don't do it.
Yeah, me either.
I
It
mean,
doesn't. I mean, I guess sometimes if I'm taking, you know, my first three wide receivers that I take all have the same buy, then I'm kind of
mhm.
like, wow, that really sucks.
Yeah, but you're gonna dominate every other week.
Right, right.
So
So
I don't
they
put a
don't
whole lot
have
of
that
stock
much.
in that.
Yeah, they don't have too. It's not too big of a deal, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the three defenses taken really quick. I know we touched on Carolina D going second. Then San Fran D is the third defense taken.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being a Niner fan myself. Alden Smith suspended 4 to 6 games is what they're saying. Navarro Bowman probably out till like week 9. Our corners aren't. We lost. Our corners are gone. I'm worried about, especially in the pass game, the Niners defense. So taking them before one of the 2 last rounds is a huge risk, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion. I would take Denver D probably over both Carolina and San Fran this year,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't take them before one of the last 2 rounds.
Fun fact, only one defense was chosen in the last 2 rounds in this draft, and it was me.
Wow.
So that should speak volumes about how
They
everyone
rate the
approaches
defenses.
defenses in this draft, which is actually a change because normally that's not the case. Most of them went in the second to last round last year,
Right.
and the kicker in the last round. But yeah, after this pick for Big Ben, it all just stuff just kind of starts to hit the fan for me.
Yeah.
You'll notice I took a kicker in round 13. Here's what happened. I forgot what round it was. And I thought it was round 14 because you have the Excel sheet. We plugged all the teams into the Excel.
Mm-hmm.
And the teams are the first line, so the round is actually around lower than what it says. So it was round 13, not round 14. I was still flustered because I just realized my tight end was Martellus Bennett and my quarterback was Matt Ryan, and I was not happy. And I was flustered. I was angry. I was pissed at the guys that were taking 2 QBs and were taking 2 tight ends. I'm like, that's stupid, and you're screwing me over. And then you're just not going to check. You're not going to check your lineup because it happens every year in this league. So people just don't do it. And I'm like, and I kind of had this plan where I was taking a to be announced player in round 17 or round 16. There I go again, reading the wrong line.
Right.
So I said, okay, I've got 3 picks left. I'll go kicker, defense, player, as I kind of normally do. Matt Prater went off the board at the start of the round, so I'm like, all right, I'll take Gostowski here, and I'll be happy. And it literally took me like 3 or 4 picks to realize that it was round 13, not round 14. And I was swearing. I'm like, oh crap, what did I just do?
What
I was
I
so
mean,
mad.
you see 1, 2, 3 other people picked kickers that round. Aside from you, what gave it away that it was actually the 13th round?
I don't even remember. I think I was looking at I know what it was. I was trying to because I had been writing down like what round and pick all my guys had been,
Mm-hmm.
and I was shuffling. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to round 13? We're on round 14. I'm like, oh crap, it is round 13. And it was such a rookie mistake. I can't believe I actually did it.
Devastating blow.
But then it kind of worked out because I got the guy I was gonna pick in round 13 on if I'd been paying attention properly in the next round. But we'll get to him later because that's a whole different story.
It is.
That was, like I said, things just kind of fell apart for me in the last 5 rounds or so.
Let me just read off the picks of round 13 here. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so Matt Prater, Tyler Eifert. Is it Eifert or Eifert?
Eifert, I think.
Okay. Steven Gostkowski, Greg Jennings, James Jones, Justin Tucker, Carlos Hyde, Mason Crosby, D'Angelo Williams, and Bengals D. Sorry I emphasized Carlos Hyde. I'm a Niner fan. What can I say?
That's all right.
I think that's probably my favorite pick in the round.
Hyde?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree because he probably has the most upside of anyone, and I'm a big fan of mid to late rounds taking flyers left and right because I think it's better to swing and miss. Like for example, last year I took Rob Hausler in round 16. Terrible pick. He didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I cut him before the season even started, and I signed this kid named Jordan Cameron. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
and that worked out pretty well.
Yeah, not bad.
I almost always cut a guy for around 16, and I'm like, I'd rather take a flyer and miss and sign someone else
Hmm.
than take a middling veteran like D'Angelo Williams, who you know what you're going to get. He's going to be like the 30th, 25th halfback every week,
Right.
which, do you really want him starting? Probably not.
Mm-mm.
But, I mean, he's just kind of taking up a spot on your bench, and if you're starting him, you're probably in big problems. So I would rather take a flyer late.
Right. Yeah. Carlos Hyde there is good value. Um, I'm shocked that it wasn't the guy that owned Frank Gore that took him. Frank Gore's
Yes.
actually the very next person. So
Yeah.
maybe he was planning to. I don't know.
I don't think handcuffs is a general strategy within this league.
Yeah, I was going to say because the guy with Steven Jackson as well lost out on Devontae Freeman. So I mean, I'm not a huge handcuff guy, but there's certain running backs that, you need. Like if I draft Marshawn Lynch, I'm not going to draft his handcuffs. He doesn't get hurt really.
Yeah.
So um, I'd rather
You're,
leave, I'd rather leave Robert Turbin or Christian Michael out there, and then if Lynch gets hurt, then try to claim him.
mhm.
Um, Zach Stacy this year. If I take Zach Stacy, I'm not taking Benny Cunningham or Trey to have their backup.
Okay.
All right, I guess next round if you want to move on.
Well, you cut out there for a second on me, so my bad.
Oh, it's all good.
Internet problems. So four defenses go off this round, which means I'm the last to get defense, which I'm fine with. We'll get to that in round 15. This is the actual round 14. And I got excited. I'm like, all right, this is a great pick. He's going to back up an injury-prone halfback who I'm not that high on this year, and he'll, mid-season he'll be a good starter. And it was Andre Brown. And within 15 minutes of making that pick, I get an ESPN alert and your text like at the exact same time, saying Andre Brown got cut by the Texans. And by this point, the draft had wrapped up, and I was so pissed. I'm
I
like,
remember,
you've got to be kidding me. I just threw away a pick. I was so mad. I'm like, how? Why would they cut him? Like, I
right.
didn't anticipate that at all.
I don't
And
think
it
anyone
was
did.
bad. It was bad. I was not happy with that. But it turned out okay because I ended up cutting Brown slash making the commissioner just substitute who I was going to sign because no one else was going to do it. I ended up signing Ladarius Green, who went undrafted, which gave me some relief at tight end. I don't think Green will do much to start the year, but he's better than Gates is right now, as far as I'm concerned. He's the future at tight end. Serious boom potential this season. Maybe by the end of the year he turns into a top 10 tight end.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
good to pair him with Martellus Bennett. You
even though I
know,
hate having two tight ends on my roster, I never do that.
right. But like you
But
said, Green might start off slow.
yeah,
So you play Bennett for the first 5 weeks or so, and then when Green kind of overtakes Antonio Gates, I guess, in their offense, which is probably bound to happen at some point this year. Which
hmm
I love Antonio Gates, so it's hard for me to say that, but it's probably going to happen at some point this season, just because he's so much more athletic. Um, he's kind of the player that Antonio Gates used to be.
yeah.
Um,
And Gates is
so
old and injury prone.
right, so I think holding on to both of them for at least 5 weeks would be okay. And once Green takes over, you can get rid of your Martellus Bennett if you want.
Yeah.
Pick someone else up.
Any other picks that really jump out to you? I mean, you had two kickers and four defenses in that round.
Yeah, I mean, a flyer on McFadden there, I guess, is okay.
Yeah, at that point,
Uh,
I'm all for that.
Stevie Johnson, there's too many mouths to feed there. I think he's going to be the odd one out, actually. Um, yeah, that's it. I mean, Andy Dalton is a good backup quarterback, I guess. Um, although
Number
with him taking Cam Newton,
Cincinnati.
yeah,
Cincinnati. So,
true. With him taking Cam Newton, I probably would have taken a backup quarterback a little earlier.
mhm.
but he took tight
He
end and
took
defense,
yeah,
so he's probably trying to fill out his
and
roster.
kicker.
Yeah, so I mean, Andy Dalton's not a bad backup quarterback.
He's just wildly inconsistent. You never know which one's gonna
Right,
show up for you.
and you hope that the week that you play him.
It's the good Andy Dalton.
Right.
There's bad
Cam
Andy and
Newton,
good Andy.
Cam Newton is pretty inconsistent as well.
And I
Good.
I I I don't really get the love affair with Cam. Outside of fantasy. I mean, if you look at his stats, like completion, all that stuff, he hasn't shown a ton of growth statistically.
Right.
I mean, he does a lot for you with his feet, which is huge. And he's kind of hasn't had too much around him, but I'm not as high on Cam as others.
I actually drafted Cam in a league last year. It was an ESPN league where you get negative points and fractional points and whatnot.
Okay.
And he was the biggest headache of all my teams last year. I could not. He was 1 week he's worth 38. The next week, not even kidding. I had him 1 week where he was worth negative .60 for a quarterback. How does that happen? So for me, if it's too much boom or bust at a quarterback position where you can find stability almost throughout the draft.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other picks you want to mention? You want to move on to the
No, we move on.
penultimate round? I took my defense here. I went Eagles defense. I don't know how much we've actually discussed this. I rarely keep a defense for more than a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
I go matchup defense. I don't feel like wasting a high pick. And sometimes it works out really well because 2 years ago I drafted the Seahawks defense as my matchup defense. I didn't cut them all season because they were really good in one of my leagues.
Yeah, there you go.
But I took the Eagles because they're playing the Jaguars in Week 1. And the Jaguars suck, so sorry if you're a Jaguar fan.
Yeah, way to sugarcoat that one.
I'll tell it like it is. I mean, it looks like Chad Henne's going to be your starting quarterback, so
we're going to start calling you No Filter Tom Downey.
There's that. I'm fine with that. They do have White Thunder and Toby Gerhart.
Yes.
Who I like, but the offensive line ain't that good.
For me, with
Justin
defenses,
Blackman's always in trouble.
Dude, Justin Blackman. I traded Le'Veon. Check this out. I had Jamal Charles. Yes, hang on. I had Jamal Charles and, man, I had two really solid running backs that I wasn't going to sit at any point. So, and I had good depth. I think I had 5 or 6 running backs. And then my wide receivers were sketch at best. And Blackman was playing well. 2 weeks.
Yeah, this is right.
And I traded Le'Veon Bell for him. And 2 weeks later, he's suspended. Indefinitely.
Forever.
Yeah, I'm like, unbelievable.
Last year in this league, I had Jamal Charles and LaShawn McCoy.
Wow.
And I lost in the championship game.
Wow.
It was the week 16, week 17 deal.
Okay.
So Charles didn't play.
And
I couldn't pull the trigger on starting Davis. And I started my other backup. He didn't do that well. And McCoy didn't do much because Cowboys did a decent job of shutting him down. And I had Romo as my quarterback, and he got hurt. And it all just kind of went to hell. It was bad.
Sucks.
It was real bad.
That sucked.
It's all right. It happens.
Yeah. Going back to the defensive thing that you said, where you don't keep them for more than 1 or 2 weeks. I do the same, but my strategy when it comes to draft day is a little bit different than yours. I just don't draft the defense.
Okay.
And then come week 1, right before the games start, I'll look at the matchups.
Go grab one.
I go grab one and I drop, whatever player, because I'm weird about having as many players as I can, just in case someone gets hurt in practice 2 days before the game. And if that person gets hurt, then that's the guy, late round pick. That's the guy I'll drop, and I grab a defense. Other than that,
like Andre Brown.
Pick. Yeah, exactly.
Like Andre Brown.
Other than that, it's usually my very last pick that'll drop to get my defense for the first week. But yeah, I'm a streamer as well, streaming defenses. But this year, I think I'm going to do something where I'm going to calculate my team defensive points every single week, which I haven't done before. but I'm going to see what I get week in and week out and add up the total and put it against the top defenses.
That's really interesting.
Here. Yeah, I'm going to see how many points I lose out on or gain, or where I would finish as far as defenses go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
I feel like you might be able to go back on like the league history.
I probably could.
And
yeah,
see.
I probably could.
I'm curious just as to what that is.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that, and maybe I'll turn it into an article or something.
That'd be really good.
Yeah.
All right, and any other picks that jump out to you in the penultimate round?
Justin Hunter and Mike Evans just late.
Yeah.
Those are two guys worth taking a chance on. Justin Hunter, one day he's the star of camp, the next day he's wearing the Jag label. I don't know if you saw that.
That was pretty funny.
And Mike Evans, there's potential. I don't believe in this quarterback McCown at all, really, but he's opposite Vincent Jackson in the 15th round.
Yep.
Why not?
For the basketball team that the Buccaneers are trying to field.
Seriously. Other than that, no. I mean, Steve Smith, Antonio Gates, or whatever.
Yeah. All right. Final round. A couple kicker. Leave off my pick because I think that'll be a nice way to wrap up the draft.
Okay.
Because I went way off the wagon here with that pick.
Yeah.
But I know we've mentioned Devontae Freeman, kind of a handcuff taken by the guy that doesn't own the Jackson.
Right.
But other picks that kind of jump out to you?
Well, the fact that Johnny Football got drafted.
He was Mr.
Mr.
Irrelevant. I think that was kind of more of a gag pick than anything.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, because isn't that his third quarterback? It is.
Yeah, it's his third quarterback. He had some jokes for the draft. He at the end of the draft, he came up in like this like cowboy outfit. And he was like the Amarillo Stampeders was his team name. He spoke in like this Texas drawl, which he nailed, which was absolutely hilarious.
That is.
And then at the very end, he handed us all tickets to the fantasy championship game with his team against a to-be-determined opponent, kind of like how Dallas sent out the NFC championship game tickets in advance. And
wow,
he had these like printed tickets. It was absolutely hilarious.
That is pretty awesome.
It was hysterical. I think he's finished like 6th every year that we've done this, like consistently.
Well, hopefully his confidence carries him to the championship game where he loses to your team.
That would be nice. How about the pick before Johnny Football?
I like it. I would like it more if it was a PPR league.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the standard league, I don't think he has enough points to really ever crack a starting lineup, unless someone goes down. This
is Dree Archer, the kid who picked him, is a huge Steelers fan.
Yeah, sorry I didn't mention the name.
This too may have been a slight gag joke. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But my pick was not a gag joke. I took Josh Gordon.
Are you sure?
I am, and I took Josh Gordon in round 16, which sounds crazy, and I probably am crazy. But I texted this to you like in the middle of the night one night, I think.
Yeah, no, I remember.
And I'm like, I asked you to talk me out of it, and you didn't talk me out of it. You encouraged me to do it. So I pulled the trigger on Josh Gordon because he's suspended, but he's not because he's in appeal and he's practicing and playing. And I decided, all right, if he doesn't get suspended, I can take my chance on the waiver wire, hopefully knowing that I'm the first one that hears about it, which I very well may not be.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can take him in round 16, hold on to him until the ruling is issued in about 2 weeks or so. And I decided that I couldn't afford not to.
Right.
Because if he's not suspended at all, which is a possibility, I just got the last season's leading receiver in 8 games of playing time with the third to last pick. And that might very well be the steal of the century, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And if he's suspended like 8 games or something, I have the number 1 receiver for 8 games. I got around 16,
Right.
and I took him in like round 11 last year or something, in a different league, and it turned out really well. He carried me to the playoffs.
Again, to put it in perspective, kind of, in my league, we have 17 rounds we go. But I say my league, this is the league that I consider the most people that know, what they're doing. They've been playing for 10 years, however long.
The league that matters the most. There's always one. There's always one.
People are talking about taking Josh Gordon right as of right now. If the draft was, tomorrow, like round 12 or 13. So the fact that you got him in round 16, is well worth it.
Well, that makes me feel a little bit better because
I think that's kind of why I convinced or helped encourage you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure if I'm just crazy stupid or just crazy, or I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But I mean, if it works out, I'm going to be really excited. Also, if Josh Gordon plays, I have the greatest receiving core known to man, as far as I'm concerned. Because he was my 5th receiver, and I've got Cordarrelle Patterson, Des Bryant, Brandon Marshall, Larry Fitzgerald. I'll trade one of those guys like that for a quarterback or a tight end and go, all right, who wants some?
Right, seriously.
So I don't know, but
other picks really quick before we.
Yep.
Because I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
But Kenny Britt in the 16th round, another why not?
Yep.
He's number 1 in St. Louis.
Flyer.
16th round. Why wouldn't you? Eric Ebron in the 16th. Again, these are why not picks at this point. Kerry Robinson, they're all worth it.
There is no such thing as a bad pick. Like once you get to like round 14 or so.
Right. So my first question to you, since we just talked about Josh Gordon, is if he doesn't play at all this year, if he's suspended the whole season, which actually seems more and more unlikely as time goes on.
Especially with the disaster PR that they got for
Ray Rice.
So maybe they cut a deal or something.
Yeah. If he doesn't play, though, we'll say hypothetically his suspension is still the full season. Who's out there for you to pick up? Like, what guy usually goes undrafted that you think is worth grabbing?
I'm not super sure. Let me pull up the league page actually.
Okay. Sorry to put you on the spot like that.
No. And let me see who's out there. I mean, I'd probably look at a halfback.
Okay.
Because I think I only have 4, and I normally like having 5 or 6.
I don't think Jeremy Hill was drafted.
I could have sworn he was. Maybe not. He might not have been. But just looking at the free agents right now, I mean, it's heavily populated by kickers and quarterbacks at the top, which I'm not taking a halfback. Jeremy Hill's a free agent. Roy Halou, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe a guy like Terrence West. I don't know. Maybe Andre Williams.
I really think Andre Williams is going to force himself to get carries.
Yeah.
He looks really good.
Randall, Marcus Wheaton, Aaron Dobson are all free agents. I don't know. I mean, that could work. Maybe I'll sign a second kicker. I don't know.
A second kicker.
Just sign a second kicker. Hoard all the kickers. I'll be just like Taco.
You know that league? God, Taco. You know that league that I was telling you about that I just drafted in?
Yeah.
4 of the teams have 2 kickers.
Why? Like, was it auto draft?
No. 3 people didn't show up. So 7 of us were present. And 4 of the teams have 2 kickers.
So someone took 2 kickers on purpose, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
What the
I'm
hell?
not even sure if the 3 auto picks.
I'd assume ESPN auto pick wouldn't be stupid enough to take 2 kickers.
It was Yahoo auto pick.
It was Yahoo auto pick? Oh,
yeah.
No. I assume they're not that stupid either. You should never have two kickers on your team.
No, I agree. The year
I
my dad won, he had 2 tight ends and 2 kickers.
I don't
Yeah.
understand fantasy sometimes.
His tight ends were
Mhm.
Antonio Gates and Jimmy Graham, though. So
Okay, well
they're worth
that's
a
fair. That's fair. You know,
point.
that's that's understandable.
I guess another question um, from your team. I said I had two. Now I just had the one for Josh Gordon. Um, you took Gotskowski.
Hmm.
I kind of have a theory with kickers where I only take kickers that kick indoors. Uh,
Interesting.
I don't know why, but I've always done that. Matt Bryant is usually my go-to because he plays in Atlanta. They usually score a lot. So last year they didn't, so that kind of didn't work out too well. But like Vinatieri, any indoor kickers I like to take.
Well, I can tell you why I took Gostowski. He's been top two kicker like the past 3 seasons.
Hmm.
So I just said, all right, well that's consistent, and that's all I want out
Right,
of my kicker because I'm never gonna cut you, if
right.
unless like you just suck. Um, but I think this is the first year that Sebastian Janikowski wasn't taken,
Oh wow, I just realized that.
um, which is actually probably the right move because he had a bad year last year, and the Raiders' offense is not great.
Right.
Um,
But it's
but
Janikowski.
yeah, he was a first round pick in real life, so that translates to
Wow.
like top five in fantasy.
Yeah, right. You would think so. All right. I think that's it for the draft.
Absolutely. What if you want, and you can feel free to say no here.
Okay.
Favorite team, least favorite team, and where my team ranks somewhere all in there.
Oh man. Okay.
Which
Give
which
me.
which might require some time for you to think.
I would say give me a second, but I can actually say, which is kind of rude because I kind of pointed on it earlier. But I think the worst team is probably Evan.
Evans' team.
Yeah. I mean, his RB2 has been Tate. Or no, he's RB3. I'm sorry. He took Eddie Lacy. Um, but like you said, look at his wide receivers, Jordy Nelson, who's a stud. There's nothing wrong with that pick. Julian Edelman, I think, is going to fall off quite a bit this year. Jeremy Maclin has trouble staying healthy. Anquan Bolden is
Mm-hmm.
such a boomer bust receiver. It's
I hate Bolden. I
yeah,
hate him every year.
it's unheard of how he like I was talking
He,
about Cam. One week he's worth 50, the next week he's
yeah,
worth 4. So um, that's tough. He's got Seahawks D though.
yeah.
So Chris Ivory splitting time with Chris Johnson. I don't know. I think Mike Evans might be his favorite pick of the draft. My favorite pick from him of the draft, and that was
Wow.
round 15. Um, although Jordy Nelson in the third is
Yeah, that's a
pretty
pretty
good.
good pick.
Yeah.
Any other teams that you don't think are very good?
I
And I only
mean,
ask this
it's
because I'm
only because
gonna.
I don't know these guys,
Yeah.
so.
The reason is I almost want you to just give your thoughts on all the teams, and then I'm gonna make them all watch this and listen to it because it'll be really funny.
And then they can hate me and they can
Oh yeah, it'll be
spam,
great.
spam my email. All right. Well, then I'm going to go from left to right then.
Okay, let's do that then.
Okay, so this guy has Breeze and Peterson.
This is Jonathan.
Yeah. Breeze, Peterson, Julio Jones. I mean, those three right there could carry him. But
Mhm.
then he takes Fred Jackson as his number 2 back, and it's like, what was that? What did you just do there? Um, and then you go down even further, and his next back is Darren Sproles, and this is a standard league.
Mhm.
So, again, confused with that tactic. Um, wait, this is the guy that brought the printed tickets, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Uh, well, the confidence is there, so that's a plus. I don't know what it'll do for his fantasy team though. The Fred Jackson in the fifth was a huge mistake, I think.
Mhm.
Um, even though it was a joke,
Mhm.
there's no. I'm not really laughing right now.
I am.
I love Greg Olson this year. Um, he might have taken him a little early. I don't know who went after him, but Greg Olson could lead the Panthers in receiving, but I don't think that team looks like ninth place.
Ninth place team. Ooh. All right.
Um,
I'm
well,
gonna craft a tentative power
rankings.
ranking here for you.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that'll be funny.
Yeah, I will. Next guy, Jamal Charles, Le'Veon Bell, Matthew Stafford. This is Nick. Deshaun Jackson, Percy Harvin, Trent Richardson. My boy Michael Floyd.
Yep.
Jordan Cameron. Well, if Jamal Charles repeats what he did last year, at least 95% repeat, we'll say.
Yeah.
I think his touchdowns will probably decrease this year, just because he had what did he have, 14 last year or something like that, combined.
Yeah, something pretty high.
Yeah.
I had him, so it was fun.
Yeah, I had him too. Matt Stafford could have 5,000 plus yards. Well, he probably will. He usually does. Um, I don't like his receivers though. Deshaun, Percy, and Michael Floyd. I'd almost say Michael Floyd to Deshaun Percy because I'm
Yeah.
way too high on Michael Floyd. Um, but his tight end's really good. I don't know. I think that's a middle of the road team.
Middle of the road team.
We'll say sixth.
All right. And you reserve the right to change the order here.
Okay, so I'll wait to go to
Wraps
your
up.
team last.
All right. I'm fine with that.
Okay. Matt Forte. This is Joe. Matt Forte,
Joe.
AJ Green. Those are two solid picks. Alfred Morris in the third. I think he's going to be better than a lot of people expect. Then he takes Julius Thomas, Rob Gronkowski. Okay. This team's shaping out to be pretty good. My phone is blowing up right now. Philip Rivers is your starting quarterback, hoping that he repeats what he did last year.
I think he will.
I do too. This kid seems pretty good. We'll say, for now, we'll put this team in the top four.
Okay.
Calvin, Aaron, Gio. This is Brian now.
This is Brian.
Well, he has a really good quarterback, and he has potentially the top wide receiver. Gio, I'm super high on. Ryan Matthews, Roddy White, Crabtree, I'm high on. I like his team too. We'll put this top four.
All right.
Evan, I'm sorry, I already said his. I apologize. Although his two running backs, Eddie Lacy and Zach Stacy, he could possibly turn them into something later in the year.
Mm-hmm.
She is not stopping calling me. I hope my girlfriend doesn't watch this. So now we're going to go to Jared. Marshawn Lynch, I don't know how your league drafts usually, but I think he probably could have got Marshawn Lynch in the second round. Do you think so?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
I think Lynch would have gone in the first.
So Lynch, Murray, Antonio Brown, Keenan Allen, Pierre Garcon. Okay, so this team is really relying on RG3 to bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
Big time. Because the rest of the players aren't that bad. Brandon Cooks, I think, will end up being a really good pick. Man. I say RG3 doesn't bounce back as much as Jared would want him to, and he finishes fifth.
All right. We'll move on to the other Evan here.
Okay, so Peyton Manning, Arian Foster, Reggie Bush, Andre, Victor Cruz, Golden Tate. Well, Peyton Manning has to be worth, something. He's got to be moved up a couple slots just for having him. Andre Johnson with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I don't know. That's tough as your wide receiver one. I probably give this a seventh place.
Cecil.
Cecil. So this is when I question his round 1, round 2 strategy going Jimmy Graham and Monty Ball.
Yeah.
I mean, the points are going to be there for Jimmy Graham. So that's not so much my question. It's just the position. But he's going to win that position pretty much every week. Monty Ball is weird. He could come back too quickly and get hit the wrong way and be done. And the number 2 back being Stephen Ridley. That's tough. Fumbling problems. Randall Cobb is a good pick. Man, what slots are left open?
You've got like 8 open, but you currently have you only have 2 for the top 4 currently. So you'll probably have to play around with that.
Right. Maybe. Where did I put that team before? The Evan kid up in the top 4?
You put him in 7.
Wow. Okay. I'll have to go revisit that because he has Peyton Manning. Tom Brady and Tony Romo. Marcus Colston. This is a middle of the road team for me again.
Okay. That leaves Greg.
Greg. Wow, he took Reggie Wayne and Hakeem Nicks, huh?
Uh-huh.
Rainbow. I don't like this team. I don't want to. I love Andrew Luck. I love Demaryius Thomas. Doug Martin in the first round, or even in the second round, we'll say. That's tough for me to rely on. The same with C.J. Spiller. They're both kind of locked into committees. So you should never try to draft 2 guys that are locked into committees.
And then his backups there are Steven Jackson and Trey Mason.
Right. So his running backs are really scary. I guess the strength of his team is his quarterback and tight end, which that probably doesn't win you much if you look at it, because that's just 2 positions out of, what is it, starting 8, 10?
Something like that.
Yeah. So actually, I'm going to give Greg a 8th, and I'll move E-Dog up a couple spots.
Okay.
So what's that, 5th?
You currently have Jared slotted 5th, but you'll need to move someone up into the top 4.
Right.
Assuming you're going to put me in the top 4.
Yeah, actually, I was going to put. Honestly, I mean, I'm not trying to be biased here, but I do like your team the best.
Okay.
So I think yours is number 1.
You put 2 then, between the remaining 4 of Brian, Joe, Jared, and Brian, Joe, and Jared then.
Who would I put 2?
Yeah.
Probably Joe. That's hoping that Phillip Rivers repeats, which we both think he will, because the beginning of his draft, all the way through to T.Y. Hilton, even taking Emmanuel Sanders after Chris Johnson, he could have a huge year. So there's a lot of solid picks there from Joe. And then who are the other 2? Jared and
Brian.
Brian. D-Ray. We'll put Brian 3rd because of Calvin, Aaron Rodgers, Gio, Ryan Matthews, Roddy White, Crabtree. Those are solid picks up there.
All right.
And then Jared would be 4th because I don't believe in RG3 this year.
All right. And if you did, he'd probably swap him and Brian for sure.
I don't know. I really like the picks that Brian made in the first, what's this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. The first 7 rounds of his draft are pretty good. That's including Rashad Jennings. I really like those picks, and even Kendall Wright at round 8 is pretty good.
Well, let me give you Brian is the taco of this fantasy league.
Wow. Okay.
He came in last season, and he never checks his lineup.
His lineup. Well, come on, Brian. You can't do that to me.
Fully admits to that. But But Taco did win the fantasy league once in the
league.
in the league. He did win once.
Yeah.
Maybe this is Brian's year.
We'll see. Hopefully, I don't want to sound that wrong.
I think I'd rank my team. I don't think I'd have them number one because I'm so scared about tight end and quarterback. But
Right.
I'd probably put them top three somewhere.
I think Matt Ryan's gonna have a good year, and the rest of the team is pretty solid. So, can you give me 1 second? I'll step away. My computer's about to die, or do you want to end it?
I think we just go ahead and end it then.
Okay. Close us out.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be back on at some point next week. We'll figure that out with our schedules. Until then, thanks for stopping by for this ridiculously long podcast, but I think Al and I both had fun. So feel free to hit us up on Twitter. I'm at whatgoingdowney. I already forgot Al's handle. So.
Well, this is awkward.
Yeah. What'd you do?
Sorry. I'm literally at 1%. So.
What's your Twitter handle? Real fast.
AlKing906.
All right, that's his Twitter handle. Once again, I'm whatgoingdowney. Follow us on chatsports.com. We have that fantasy hub site with everything on there.
Top 200 will be up tonight. All
right, top 200 up tonight, updated, and we'll be out of date within like an hour because that's how stuff works.
Seriously.
In fantasy. But anything else to add there, Al?
I honestly didn't hear what you said, so.
I guess not then.
CS report will be back next week, Wednesday or Thursday, right?
All right, that sounds good to me. Thanks for stopping by, everyone.